Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of News in Motion. It is the start of a new week. And if you're tuning in here live with us at 7:25 a.m., we just want to say good morning to you. Hope you're doing well on this Talk About It Tuesday, this Taco Tuesday, whatever Tuesday you want to call it. Today is also April the 16th, 2024. And if you are in Columbus, Ohio, the high of today is going to be 78 degrees with the low being 57. Now, yesterday, y'all, it was hot. It was hot yesterday. I was like, whoo, Lord, I'm working up a sweat right now. I wasn't even moving. But Mother Nature has a funny way of, turning on the thermostat. We always got that one kid that always mess with the thermostat, even though the parents tell them not to. That's low key Mother Nature right now. Want to be hot in the afternoon, but cold in the morning. That's how it always is. That's how it always is. And if you are tuning in, you can find us through LinkedIn, YouTube, or any audio or podcast platforms. I see you, Miss Regina Shorts. Good morning to you. Good morning, Miss Marianne Jackson, Miss Sardinia, Miss Adrian, Miss Kim Emerson, and Dr. Antoinette, all tuning in through YouTube. So, if you are ready for this Talk About It Tuesday, be sure to grab a paper, grab a friend, let them know that you're tuning in to News in Motion, and we'll be right back after this brief intro.
News in Motion.
Good morning to all of you. I love how Isaiah just flipped the scripts on me. I'm like, what? Talk About It Tuesday. So we're going to go with Talk About It Tuesday. All right. That's happening Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, Talk About It Tuesday. I said, okay, he's leading today, so I'm following his lead. So it is definitely Talk About It Tuesday. I see you, Shirley Nicholson, coming in here as well. So good morning to all of you. First off, hopefully everyone has filed their taxes or applied for an extension. Y'all, yesterday was the day. Hopefully you took care of all of that. Yeah, we got that off our shoulders. So hopefully you have taken care of all of that. Now I want to jump into it. I know y'all want to get to the first thing first, but that's going to be at the end before the inspirational message. Let me get through some other news first. And before I do that, just let me know how your spring is going. It's been very interesting. Last Monday, not yesterday, but a week ago yesterday, we had the eclipse and people were really excited. And then it seemed like during the week, people just started having all kinds of challenges. I also want to share with this community one of our longtime supporters and viewers, Elizabeth Towns. As y'all may remember, I did a podcast with her September 2023, along with Pastor Apostle Anita Dawson and Latrice Jones, and she was sharing about her mom. Well, her mom did pass away on last Friday. So we want to lift up Elizabeth Towns. And if anybody can step in, I know there's different things that they need. I stopped by there on Saturday to spend just a little bit of time with her and her sister Paula. But let's just lift up our community here. So her mother did pass away. So if you see Elizabeth, if you have a connection or a DM, make sure you reach out to her. So I wanted to get that out there. But how's your spring been? What has it been like? It was interesting. I was sharing with my husband last night. I said, I don't know. For some reason, since the weekend, I've been off. And I could not pinpoint why or where. Nothing drastic happened. Actually, things are going pretty well, but it's just very interesting. I just felt off. So I'm willing to just tap in to see how are you all feeling. The same with the audio as well. Anything, if you're driving, you keep your eyes on the road. But if you can send in a DM or email us or touch base, just let us know how you're doing. I see you, Lori. Every time I see you pop in here, I just see this ray of sunshine. So good morning to you, Lori. And I see Deborah Johnson rolling up in here as well. What's up, Crystal? What's up? Now, you have been receiving the Friday rundown. And I don't know what changed, but on our end, we get to see the open rate. Y'all are opening up that mug. I was like, all right now. So we must have found our groove. So we're really excited about that. All right, let's get started here again. I know what y'all here for, but that's going to come to the end. And y'all know it. I don't know if Yvonne's on here. I got everything from the judge, okay? I say I need to read everything so I can understand this for myself. So we're going to get to that when we get to that. Marion says condolences and prayer to Elizabeth Towns and her family. Thank you for that. And I'll let her know that we are just praying for her here. Dr. Antoinette said, I think spring is finally here. She and Winter were battling for custody. Listen, they were battling for sure. All right, y'all, Blavity reports. Now I wanted to start here first because I think we don't give this type of community more press, and we need to. Y'all, HBCU cheer squads, these are the cheerleading squads, dominate the 2024 NCAA College Nationals. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta share this. The 2024 National Cheerleading Association National Championship, the HBCUs took home national titles and top scores. The intermediate small co-ed division 1 group, North Carolina AT&T, emerged as the 2024 NCAA College National Championships. The same small D1 event saw Jackson State finish 5th, while Tennessee State finished 11th. A score of 86.10 put the Morgan State Cheer Bears in second place in the all-girl intermediate division. So I just thought, yes, I needed to share that. As a former high school cheerleader, the black schools never even ranked, although I thought we were the bomb. So just to see that the HBCUs were out there, they ranked, I mean, they took up a lot of that the top, let's say 12 spaces. So congratulations to all of them. Congratulations to all the cheerleaders who were out there, because we do get hurt, we get injured and everything else. And it is a sport. All right, y'all, I'm going to leave most of this to Kenny Stanley. Make sure you tune in to him on Saturday with Game Over at 6:30 Eastern time. But he was going to try to join me this morning. We weren't able to work it out. You know, he's still a student in seminary, okay, and he had papers and things due. But the WNBA draft 2024, Caitlin Clark, as y'all know, goes number 1 to Indiana Fever. Angel Reese joins Camila Cardoso, I believe, on Chicago Sky. We have the second pick, Cameron Brink, Los Angeles Sparks. Camila again went to Chicago Sky, number 3. Rike Jackson, Los Angeles Sparks. We have Dallas Wings, Washington Mystics. We have so many, but y'all, the top 12, there were 3 draft rounds, and so they were out there. So Yahoo Sports is reporting all that, but it was great news, great information. And the thing is, and I'm still digging into this because I just don't believe it, okay? But $80,000. Really? That's all they're getting? That's not their endorsements, but $80,000. Like, what? Did y'all see the number of views of the women's college championship over the men's? Like, what do you mean? So I'm still trying to make sure that's the correct number. And everything that's coming up, I'm seeing about 80,000 up to about maybe 120,000. That's still not enough money. I'm just like shocked that we're okay with that. And we need to start raising our voices now to make sure these women get paid, okay? Paid for the work that they're doing, paid for the sports, the work that they're doing. Lori says, go cheerleaders. That's what I'm talking about. Crystal says, as their salary, she says, their signing bonus. That's what I'm talking about. As their salary. I was like, this can't be right. So I'm cautious reporting that, but so far, everything I've seen since last evening, that's about the baseline. And I'm like, rookies coming in? Like, Caitlin's only getting like 80 grand. Like, help me understand this. And I know people say the endorsements come and that's what really carries them. Well, pay them for their skills. Pay them for their skills. Deborah says we have to support them at the professional level by attending the games. Yes. And I guess that was something too I was reading. I don't have it word from word, but the NBA, they get like 1 point something billion. That's their average. But the WNBA is like 1.3 million. Like, there's a problem with that. And again, don't quote me on those numbers. I'm reading it off top. I'm trying to remember that from the top of my head. But there's a problem with that. And Deborah, we can also go to the Women's Professional Volleyball League that started here this year. And I attended the first game. I had the honor to get this invitation to go be behind the scenes and everything else. And it's really interesting. And they fly commercial. Yes, I read that, Dr. Antoinette. They fly commercial. Like, not even first class necessarily, but they're so tall, their legs are long, they should be in first class. But when I went to the volleyball game, they were really trying to encourage people to keep coming out because that's how they are able to pay their players. So it's really sad. It's sad. So we got to do better. We got to get our voices out there. Kim Edmondson says, yes, that's all they get. That and I keep digging, Kim, because I don't want to believe the number. I'm like, oh, this can't be right. Let me keep looking for the facts. But I keep seeing that. Deborah says there are only 40 games in the WNBA season. So we have that in 82 in the NBA. So a lot to do there, Speaking of women, Adrian said, do the math. Speaking of women, y'all, I came across this alert that I wanted to share. Because I'm like, isn't this 2024? And this is just now happening? Y'all, the EEOC is reporting. I know y'all here for the Donald Trump stuff. Just hold on, I'll get to that in a little bit. They issue a final, this is 2024, they issue a final regulation on Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Y'all heard me. So I looked at the EEOC news, and it's amazing how I can get into all these different things. But I want to read this. It says, AIDS implementation of civil rights law, expanding protections and accommodations for pregnant workers. What? The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, this was on Friday, issued a final rule to implement the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, that's PWFA, providing important clarity that will allow pregnant workers the ability to work and maintain a healthy pregnancy and help employers understand their duties under the law. Yeah, this is 2024. This just happened on Friday. The PWFA requires most workers with 15 or more employees to provide reasonable accommodations or changes at work for workers known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions unless the accommodations will cause the employer an undue hardship. They talked about the numerous examples like stools to sit on when they're working. Y'all didn't provide that before Friday, 2024. They talked about time off for healthcare and doctor's appointments. Y'all just came to that on Friday, 2024. That was April 12th, 2024. They're talking about guidance regarding limitations and medical condition. They were talking about guidance encouraging early and frequent communication. They're talking about clarification that the employer is not required to seek supporting documents to say that they're pregnant. What? Help me. April 12th, 2024. Y'all just passed this act? Really? Yeah, I'm really shocked. And I wanted to read this and share this here on News in Motion because these are the things we need to think about and consider when we're talking about voting. It makes a difference. Y'all are just now passing this. Like, didn't y'all think, women, men, whoever that's tuning in, didn't y'all think something like this was already in place? It wasn't. No, it wasn't. It says the final rule will be published at the Federal Registrar on April 19th. So it's not even published yet. It won't get published till Friday, so a week later. meaning this Friday. The final rule was approved by a majority vote of the commission on April the 3rd, 2024, publicized on April 12th, 2024, Friday, and becomes effective. Oh, it's not even effective yet. And becomes effective 60 days after the publication in the Federal Registrar's computer system. So that goes there on April the 19th, and then it's going to be 60 days before it's you can implement this. Like, am I missing something, you all? Am I missing something? So pregnant women. So the fairness of pregnant women, again, is called Final Regulation on Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Whew, that was a whole lot, right? Yeah, but that's what's happening. And this is why here on News in Motion, we bring you this type of news, because we need to understand the facts and what's really going on. Why are y'all just not putting this into place? Really, a stool for a pregnant woman to sit down while she's working? Okay. Well, there's that. Yeah, Adrian, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Deborah says we can demand more when we support them better. Yeah, there's so much there. Yeah, AP News, Associated Press, Tesla. Tesla plans to lay off 10% of workforce after dismal quarterly sales. Yeah, even Elon Musk, Senior Global Director, Patel, of Public Policy and Business Development, also went to X on yesterday saying that he was leaving Tesla after 8 years because something's just not right. So there's that. Now, their cars are good, but I think he's just crazy. Elon Musk detailed the plans in a memo sent to employees. The layoff could affect about 14,000 of the 140,000 workers employed by the Austin, Texas company at the end of last year. That was the number that was employed. But they're looking at cutting about 14,000. Elon Musk said that as Tesla prepares for its next phase of growth, you're not doing too well. It is extremely important to look at the aspects of the company for cost reduction and increasing productivity. Just give up Twitter, okay? Just give that up and maybe you'll be okay. All right, also the Supreme Court permits Idaho to enforce ban on gender-affirming care for minors. That's very concerning. Please dig into that. A lot of this information we'll put in the Friday rundown so that you can look it up for yourselves, okay? Y'all, and so as I go into talking about the buttercup here, Politico reports that Trump trade advisors plots, and this is unfolding. But it's interesting how this is unfolding at the very time that he is in court, okay? Y'all need to pay attention to this. And I'll put this in the Friday news as well. This is serious. They are plotting a dollar devaluation, meaning a decrease. Okay, so Politico economic advisors close to Donald Trump are actively debating ways to devalue the U.S. dollar if he gets elected to a second term, according to 3 former Trump administration officials who were granted autonomy to discuss confidential policy plans. So he wants to devalue the U.S. dollars. By weakening the dollar would come at a cost, including soaring consumer prices for import products, retaliation from other countries, threatens the dollar role as world reserve currency, undermining U.S. sanctions on adversaries like Iran and Russia. Hello, pay attention. What just happened, y'all? What just happened? All the former officials that they have talked to from Politico, the reporters there stress that there are many nuances of this that hasn't been worked out yet, but they have plans that Project 2025, if y'all haven't read that yet, to devalue the U.S. dollar. Isn't it interesting that this is like a news alert that no one's really talking about, but we grabbed it because we take our time going through all the different alerts that comes through, and we're like, we need to let y'all know this. And there's several connections of dots, Forbes, CNBC, and others who are talking about the devaluation of the dollar if he gets back in office. Y'all need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. So let's get into it. All right, first let's call it what it is. Y'all, this is not a hush money court. This is dealing with election interference. Let's call it what it is. So first up, jury selection started yesterday. More than half of the 96 prospective jurors were let go after saying they could not be fair and impartial. I thought about that. I said, that would be me. I'd be like, no, judge, I can't do this because he needs to go to jail. I would have like busted out in court saying some stuff like that. They probably would have had to take Secret Service to take me out of there. I'd be like, he needs to go to jail today. All right, so now this is what's happening. We're talking about he allegedly paid, I gotta say allegedly paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 days before the 2016 presidential election. The payment was in exchange for silence about a one night stand between her and the ex-president back in 2006. Then it was recorded that $136,000 payment as legitimate legal expense for the Trump organization, and did so to cover up a felony. I mean, there's so much that they're unpacking here, so you have to pay attention to all this, y'all. This is really exciting. All right, from Ari Melber, this was great. You know, he used to be a former attorney. He said Donald Trump is the first former president to face a criminal trial, so this is literally unprecedented. Now, listen to this. I want y'all to make sure y'all hear this. This is a criminal trial. People are trying to say it's not, but it is. Ari Melber also talked about the New York indictment alleges serious crimes to distort an election, lie to voters, and to hide his conduct. That's on there. And then also the ending could be a verdict, guilty or acquittal. It takes one. It takes one for there to be a mistrial, and it will all go away. And we cannot predict how this is going to happen. We have no idea how this is going to happen. So with that being said, I told you I had to go get nosy. I had to go see what was going on. This is what we have. Well, it came from the judge, and it started off so that you understand the layout of what's happening here. I just had to go get me some popcorn because I was sitting there going, what is happening? But number one, excusing jurors who are self-identified as unable to serve. And again, 56. We're like, I can't do this. Can't be fair. And then number two, instructions regarding the use of an anonymous jury. They're given numbers. They're not using their names. They're giving numbers, and a lot of that has to come from the fact that Trump is still going to Truth Social, blasting out people, and that's almost like a mob mentality. Let me just say it that way. So they're like, you can't do this. So they're wanting to know how the judge is going to deal with him for something he did this past weekend, and he said, I will deal with that next week, because they were all waiting for it. But the judge said, no, I'll give a ruling on that next week. So as all of this is unfolding, and then number three, the jury questionnaire. Y'all, I got the questionnaire. I know y'all probably heard some of this on TV, but I got all 42 questions. We're going to go over a few of those today, all 42. Marianne says, so if convicted, will that prevent him from running for president? Well, if he has a felony, he can't. That's the rule. That's the rule. So we'll have to see how this is. Kim says, I don't think so, Marianne. And that's been a discussion. If you have a felony, you cannot run for the highest office. Well, the thing is, he's already running. Now, if he has house arrest or something like that, how's he going to do that? But people are already starting to back away from him. It's very interesting. People thought that this was not going to go to trial on yesterday, or it wasn't going to continue, but it did continue. So a lot of this, now this is all unprecedented. We don't know. And the rules could change for him. So we don't know. We have no idea what's about to happen. All right, so get this. So the judge gave some rules, and the judge says, and I quote, now that you have heard my preliminary instructions and some basic information about this case, if you have an honest, legitimate, and good faith reason to believe you cannot serve on this case, or that you cannot be fair and impartial based solely upon what you have heard up to this point, please let me know now. He goes on to say, please do not wait until after you have been selected as a juror to tell me that you cannot serve or that you cannot be fair and impartial. The law gives me much greater discretion to excuse prospective jurors than it does to excuse sworn jurors. And then basically he was letting them know, you could go to jail if you're going to sit here and lie to me, or we find out something else about you. Then It says, in the instant, and I'm going to give all this to y'all on the Friday rundown. He says, and if you don't have the Friday rundown, you can go to gaildudley.com and a pop-up box will come up. And when that pops up, you can complete that and then you'll be on the list to receive the Friday rundown. Dr. Antoinette said, I couldn't be on that jury because I would have come through the door with the lock up t-shirt and done an for today. Listen, I would have been sitting there and I would have to say, nah, he's guilty. He needs to go to jail. And why is he running for president? Seriously, that's what would happen. But now get this, y'all. I thought this was very interesting. It says, in the instant, in addition to individuals identified above, that was all that I read earlier, we will be joined by the defendant and Secret Service. And I thought, what y'all gonna do? It says the jury room is not large enough to accommodate this expanded group, and the only other possible location is the courtroom. This will require moving all prospective jurors out to the 15th floor corridor. In a case where security concerns are implemented, every time anyone enters or exits the courtroom or mingles around the corridor, moving the entire jury panel is no simple task. So they're letting them know, you got to let me know now before you come in here, all 96 of you. And again, 56 were excused before that happened. And then right about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Eastern time, they took 18 into the courtroom, the jury box, along with Secret Service and the defendant. So that's what they're talking about there. There's a lot. I'm not reading all this, but I do want to go over this one thing before we get to these questions. These questions are wow. The instructions regarding use of the anonymous jury ordered that people's motion for prospective order restricting disclosure of the business or residential address, like none of that is public. They're not letting him get any of that information, which is good. Ordered that the people's motion on prohibit disclosure of jurors' names other than to parties and counsels, that's granted. So he will get their names. But it's saying, if we see this on Truth Social, their names, buttercup, and then ordered that the people and counsel for the defendant shall jointly submit to this court no later than Friday. This has happened already, March 15th, proposed neutral explanations and limited instructions to court. So all of that was detailed, like his Secret Service, all of that was detailed. So let's get to some of these questions. But then court, this was the second thing too. People versus Donald Trump jury room instructions. They gave serious instructions. Again, this is going to be in the Friday rundown so that you all can see this for yourselves. So let's get to these questions. And I want y'all to talk back to me with these questions, okay? Kim Edmondson says, basically, he's saying, don't play with me. Basically, that's what he was saying. He was saying it so calm yesterday. Because even like when y'all were like on commercial with the press pass, we could see and hear some of the stuff that was going on. And y'all, by the way, he did fall asleep yesterday. Let's say what it is. He did. He really did fall asleep. So it was very interesting to watch all of this unfold. And y'all know, because I've always wanted to be an attorney, I was like all up in this. Lori says, I was watching a show yesterday. An attorney said that if a person has a felony, they can't vote. That's true. But it's not a rule that says you can't run for president. You can run. And I'm going to get clarification for all of us on this. You can run, but once you are convicted, you can't. That's my understanding. But let's get that. Let's unpack that. Make sure we have that right. Which that would be a great question. So let's find that out for tomorrow. And then Marian says, so he will truly have a jury of his peers. And Kim said that's what she heard. So yeah, so we got to find that answer. We're gonna find that answer. I promise you, we're gonna bring that answer tomorrow. All right. So here's the jury questionnaire. 42 questions. Okay, it's actually more than 42. All right, so they get into the box and it says, the first one says, without telling us your address, in what neighborhood do you live? First of all, that was kind of weird. Like, well, if they know that neighborhood, they can find the person, right? They say that you gotta like hide like this. How long have you lived there? Are you a native New Yorker? And then the next question, that's all in number one. Number two, what do you do for a living? How long have you been doing that? And if you are retired, please tell us what you did before you retired. Who is your current employer? How large is your current employer? Are you self-employed? Who was your prior employer? That's all a question. That's all in number three. Number four, What is your educational background? Number 5, are you married? Have you been married? Do you have any children? Number 6, if you are married or living with another adult, what does that person do for a living? Number 7, what do you like to do in your spare time? So they were like really trying to fill them out. Now, first you would think these questions shouldn't matter. Oh no, they were seeking something. Yeah, he really did fall asleep. They were seeking something. Number 8, do you participate in any organizations or advocacy groups? If so, which ones? Number 9, have you ever served on a jury before? Without telling us the verdict, please tell us whether the jury reached a verdict. And then it says, which of the following print publications, cable and or network programs, or online media such as websites, blogs, or social media platforms do you visit, read, or watch? Now, and they were saying, read that aloud. New York Times, USA Today, New York Daily News, Huffington Post, CNN, MSNBC, Google, Facebook, X, TikTok, Wall Street Journal, New York Post, Newsday, Washington Post, Fox News, Newsmax, MSN, Yahoo, Truth Social. I do not follow the news. That was a very important box if people said that. All right. Next, do you listen or watch podcasts? If so, which ones? Do you listen to radio? If so, which programs? Have you a relative or a close friend ever been convicted of a crime? And it goes on to say, have you a relative or close friend been employed by law enforcement? 15, have you a relative or close friend been employed by federal, state government? Have you or a relative close friend been employed by accounting or finance fields? So one of the press people said, why does it matter if a friend or associate or somebody, because we were like on break having conversation, and they said it's important because if so, they want to find out about your friend, your close friend, or your neighbor that you associate with and why. So just imagine if somebody is in court for this case and you are associated with them, even from the corporation, the employer, and they're checking you out. You're being vetted, not even knowing that you're being vetted because they are a potential juror of this high-profile case. What are y'all's thoughts on that? I want to hear, put that in the chat, your thoughts from that. Just from association, that can happen. Crystal said that's a telling question. It is definitely a telling question. So I want to hear, like, you're being associated with something and you don't even know that yet. You're being vetted and you have no idea why, because that person is a potential juror on a high profile case. Have you, a relative or close friend, ever been employed by the accounting or finance field? And what does that look like? Have you, relative or close friend, ever had any education, training, or work experience in a legal field? Have you, a relative or close friend, have experience in interaction with criminal justice system? And I even asked this question, like in the chat. I didn't do a verbal question, but I said, okay, what if you don't know? And you say, I have no idea. And they find out later that this person has been criminally charged from something, but you never know. Are you going to be held accountable for that? It's like, this is like a can of worms. This is deep. This is very interesting. Have you, a relative or a close friend, been accused or convicted of committing a crime? Do you, a relative or a close friend, have a pending criminal case? It's like, didn't y'all do y'all's due diligence before you called me into the box? What about this is your ownership? And you have me answering all these questions. But then we get into the nitty gritty. Do you have any political, moral, intellectual, or religious beliefs or opinions which might prevent you from following the court's instructions? I said, okay, now we're getting into that. Do you have any political, moral, intellectual, or religious beliefs or questions that would interfere with your ability to render a verdict in criminal court case? They ask, without telling names, do you take any type of medication? Court proceedings, they talk about the times. Do you practice a religion that will prevent you? Can you give us assurance that you'll be fair and impartial? They ask all those questions. They ask about race, color, national origin, ancestry, gender identity or expression, religion, religious practice, age, disability, sexual orientation, and political views. All of that was in one question. Can you promise to guard against allowing stereotypes or attitudes about individuals or about the group of people referred to as implicit biases influence your decision? Have you or a close friend or relative ever worked for any company or organization owned or run by Donald Trump? Have you, a relative or close friend, ever worked or volunteered for the Trump presidential campaign, the Trump presidential administration, or any other political entity affiliated with Mr. Trump? And have you ever attended a rally of Donald Trump? So, y'all, that too was on there. Then it has some more stuff about Donald Trump, his organization, his family, what you've read, what television shows you watch, including The Apprentice and so forth. But y'all, then it gets to this. Adrian says things that make you go, It gets to this. Have you ever considered yourself a supporter or belong to any of the following? The QAnon movement, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 3%ers. I had never heard of them. Boogaloo Boys. I haven't heard of them either. And Antifa. So they asked if you have any affiliation. And then it says, have you, your friends, or your neighbors, or your family? Again, what if you did not know that they're a part of this? Like, what's going to happen? Because they give in that first part, which you'll see in the Friday rundown, it talks about if you perjure yourself or if you lie under oath, and they have that connection. Can you imagine somebody coming to you and say, can you tell me if you've ever been a part of this? And can you tell me if, let me just use Kim, if Kim Edmondson knows about this? Oh yeah, me and Kim go all the time. And yeah, she knows that I'm affiliated with Black Lives Matter or whatever. And you just sat there and told them in court, no, didn't know that about Kim Edmondson. And maybe you legitimately do not know about it. Dr. Antoinette says, translation, identify your level of crazy. There's that. Do you have any strong opinions about Mr. Trump? Yeah, he should be in jail. Let's get him there immediately. Do you have any feelings or opinions about him being treated in this case? Can you give us your assurance that you will decide the case solely on evidence? Do you have any strong opinions? Y'all, this right here, I don't know how they're going to do it. So, again, there's 42 questions. It's still unfolding. We'll see more and more about this week and the coming few weeks. They do believe there will be a resolution, solution, or decision before the general election. They're hoping to get it done by the end of September, if not before. But they have to find a jury pool to be able to do this. One that's going to be fair and impartial to see how this is all going to unfold. Kim Edmondson says they are going to be hard pressed to find unbiased juror candidates. They are, not unless they lie. That's the only thing I can say. And I hope nobody lies, because the judge in these first, I didn't read all this, but the first 3, 4, 5 pages of this, he's outlining. Don't let me find it that you're lying. We not about to do that. And that's going to be hard. So, anyway, now the judge released a person yesterday. I may have read about this or heard this on the news yesterday, with them just giving a one-word answer. He's like, "You out," and that's but the Trump team wanted that juror to stay. And for me, I said, "Why did y'all want that person to stay? Like, they got rid of 55 others. Why did y'all argue that one person?" And the person didn't stay. The judge like, no. So it was like, what was it about that person? And we'll never know. We don't know who they are. They can never talk about it or anything. So it's going to be interesting. And then the other thing I thought was very strange yesterday, and this is how all of this is unfolding, is that they're asking them not to turn on their computer, because they're not, so at this point, they're not sequestered at this moment. So it's like, really, everything's done. iPhone, Samsung. And yes, by the way, let me be fair and balanced. Samsung took the place of iPhone as the number one phone system yesterday, whatever. But yeah, so Kim Edmondson, congratulations. Samsung is now in the number one spot of cell phones. But anyway, you have all of these, your device, what you're going to use, how are you not going to know? And then for the people, there was a few potential jurors who made this statement that they didn't know anything about this hush money case or election interference. You're lying. You have to know something about, not unless your head is in the sand. Dr. Antoinette says, do you have any strong feelings the interpretive dance would start the Pastor Alex said they are looking for people that don't exist on this planet. They really need to get people out of the country somewhere else. Lori says, what if they do lie and get on there and they don't find out until much later or even after? That's a great question. Marian says, wondering if they will find unbiased jurors for this trial. Jury selection may take a while for this trial. Lori says, woo woo team. I forgot your team, Samsung too. And look at Latrice Jones. She says, oh my gosh, Kim is going to be insufferable about this. Listen, yeah, I had to tell her, Latrice, you know me, I had to tell her. Yeah. I said, okay, I got to give this news. I can't hide it because I'm sure she already knows about it. And Kim said, I sure am. All right, let me get to the inspirational message and we're out of here. If you read my Medium post yesterday, I talked about uplifting others. And so today I just want to say you have been elevated to uplift and award others. I was in a conversation with Latrice Jones, matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago. And we were talking about how we continue to see the same faces and the same names for awards over and over and over and over again. And I started wondering, we had a great conversation. I started wondering, what about the 50-year-old who's making $25,000 a year, who's doing a community garden, and through that community garden, they're feeding individuals who are food insecure. When are we going to lift them up? Because there's no national attention, there's no local attention, there's nothing. What about the person who decided to go back to school at the age of 80 to finish maybe even their associate's degree or bachelor's degree or doctorate or law degree, whatever it is, and maybe they just need, I was able to get everything else. I got some scholarship money, but I need book money. What about that? So I have this whole article on Medium, if you get an opportunity to check that out, where I really give some examples of things that we can do. But I went back, and Latrice, I thought this was very interesting. This was December the 8th, 2019. I did a social media post. I used to do what you call Sunday shout outs on Instagram. And I did a social media post, and it was none other than Latrice Jones talking about what it is that she does with her paparazzi as a consultant and with her nonprofit with autism, and just all of that information highlighting people, which led me to think, as I give today's inspirational message, we don't have to wait for the event or for the gala to highlight people. We can start doing that now. Y'all, it's really free to do that. We can shout out people to those who are following us. Even if you have a following of less than 100 or less than 50, it doesn't matter. One person within that group may say, you know what, let me check out this person. Let me give to their organization. Let me lift them up. Let me highlight them. Let me buy their book. Let me buy their jewelry. Let me buy their food product. Let me sew into what they're doing. Let me name the street after Big Mama, who raised us on the street. And she was barely making it herself, but she made sure that the children on the street were cared for, were warm, had coats, mittens, whatever it is. It's our responsibility to lift up other people and to award others. So today, I just want to speak into all of your lives and say that you have been elevated to be able to do this. You have been elevated to be able to do this. We don't have to wait for the high society people to give us a plaque. All right. You get a plaque, it's over. Yes, it's nice. But it's up to us as a community to highlight and elevate other people and say, I see you. I see the work that you're doing, not question their work, not having to prove that they are deserving of this. You have a personal experience with this person, this organization, this church, this group of people. Highlight them, elevate them, speak highly about them, get on people's nerves about them. So even if it's a dance ministry, I know Dr. Antoinette does a lot with female preachers and pastors and female lay leaders. let's help her highlight some of these women, some of these individuals. I know, again, Latrice Jones with autism and a nonprofit. Let's highlight her. Let's all decide on Friday, whatever Friday we choose, could be this Friday, we're all going to send to that organization $25, $5, $1 to help her on the mission of what it is that she's doing. So these are some things that, as I spoke with Latrice Jones, I said, what am I waiting on? Why don't I just go back to doing what I was doing? And why can't we just start somewhere and get it out here and start blessing people? We don't have to let them know who's doing it. Someone who's saying, I'm in school, but, I just need some gas money. I just need a cup of coffee to get through the day because I didn't sleep last night. I got 5 kids at home. I had to get them on the bus. I had to write a 10-page paper. I need to make it to the classroom. I just need a cup of coffee. We're blessing them with coffee. We're blessing them with the EV charge. We got to get over it. Well, they got an electric vehicle. They don't need anything. You have no idea what they need or don't need. Maybe they need the charge of their EV, and that is cheaper than gas. Hello, somebody. How do I know? Because I have one, and it's cheaper and it saves. Someone was telling me how much they paid in fuel last year, and I cracked up laughing. I said, I think I paid about $200 for the entire year, where someone else is saying they're paying like $2,000 for gas. So y'all don't automatically think, well, just because they add that. No. Sometimes we make cuts like that to do and get what we need because we're trying to survive. Maybe somebody's saying, I just need to get away from my children for the day. I just need to get away from my husband for the day. I just need to get away from this space, these 4 walls for a day. And it's like, hey, we're going to sow into your life a room at the Hilton so that you can just be in a space, watch television, binge on food, whatever it is you want to do. Go get in the pool, whatever that is. Y'all, it's up to us as a community to uplift other people. And I'm serious about it. I am serious. Y'all, this Inspire, a call to action, has taken me to another dimension. I cannot explain it. Those of you who have been writing reviews on Amazon, thank you. If you have not done that, that's another thing. It's completely free for you to do that. Whether you read a page, a paragraph, the entire devotion already, please go to Amazon.com and review Inspire, a call to action. What does that do for us? That helps the algorithm, that gets the book out there for more people. And it's not about people buying the book. It's about people being inspired. And we're asking you to come alongside of us to do that. So please go and review the book. But y'all, the number of emails that we have been receiving have been phenomenal. I want to read this one thing to you before we get off of here, because I read this and thought, wow, this book did that for this person. And this is what they said. And I'm going to do this in a post today too. It says, I'm in the process of reading Gail E. Dudley's, which I laughed. I said, I really do have my middle initial in there. A call to action, Inspire book. I have been searching for something to read. I have found it in this book. Inspire has touched my heart. Every devotion has a message and a purpose. It is beautiful, easy to read and understand. I encourage everyone to buy this book today. You will not be disappointed. We've been getting those types of messages almost 3-4 times a day, where I'm like, where is this? Who's reading this? We were able to see a map of everywhere this book is right now. When I tell you this book is in, at this moment, 14 countries, it is in 14 countries. And just to see the map and to identify all the pins of where this book has landed. And not one person has returned the book yet. Please don't. But not one person has returned this book yet. People are talking about this book and how they are being inspired. Kim Edmondson, I want to say it was you. I want to say it was Kim Edmondson that said to me when I kept feeling like, oh my gosh, let me just scrap this. Let me just pay everybody their pre-orders back in 2022, I believe. And I was like, man, I can't believe this happened. And Kim Edmond kept saying, perfect timing, God's timing. Don't worry. Don't do that. She kept saying it, and I kept hearing that in my head. Like, you can't scrap it. You can't throw it away. We did have to tighten it because the original book and the information that was out there, which was 356, something like that. I can't remember the exact number. And they were short. We scrapped that because when the hurricane hit Kathy's home, Kathy Curtis, the editor's home, the hard drive, everything. And then because I had already deleted most of it except earlier drafts, we started and I prayed and God said, rewrite this one, Here, get rid of that one. Insert this one, put this one out there. If y'all notice, if any of you have the book, there's even some more recent devotionals. It's not the ones from 2020 or 2021. There were some from 2023 in there. Yeah, we did that intentionally because those were the ones that were speaking to us. And now we see this Carl Wright, who did both covers. We laughed putting the two covers together. That first cover, no, it wasn't even a drawn people. So it's amazing how God will do some of the miraculous if you would just turn over your purpose, your life, your calling to Him and cut out all the naysayers. Just cut them out. Y'all, time out for that. We have to start living and uplifting others regardless of what's happening. Stop looking at their flaws or their negativities or what you don't like about it because you're intimidated by it. I had someone say to me on yesterday, and I think that's why I was off a little on yesterday. I had someone say to me yesterday, and I had to block it out. My husband said, you don't let that go. I had to block it out. Someone said to me yesterday, I never thought you was going to put this book out here. And I'm a little, and this was their words, I'm a little jealous that it's been that successful. And I'm like, aren't you my friend? Why are you jealous that this book has been successful? Like, help me understand that. And they just kept on saying, I just never thought you was going to do this. Now I'm now sitting back trying to figure out where you're going with this and how is it going to get there and what's going to happen. And it was so, they may have thought they were being positive. That was so negative. I had to shake that stuff off. And I'm going to speak to all of you today. Shake off all that stuff that comes at you. You don't have to listen to everybody. Find a way to get out of the conversation. This was a voice call, a voice conversation. I was hearing their words and I had to shut that conversation off. We have to speak life to people, not death. And everything we're thinking, we don't have to speak it. We don't. So even with news, even with everything, that's why I purposely wanted to share with you all the HBCUs cheerleading. Y'all, they need to be congratulated. They need to be lifted up. I wanted to purposely share with you the EEOC piece about the fairness, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Like, we're just now doing this. So start looking at pregnant women differently and see, do you need help? Do you need a seat? Do you need anything? I never knew that this wasn't in play in 2024. Like, seriously. All right, so I can keep going and going because I'm on my soapbox now. But let me just see what else all of you are saying before we get out of here. I just love y'all, by the way. Lori says, anyone that has a nonprofit or small business like me needs more help than you know. Even kind words and prayers are greatly appreciated. Thank you, Lori, for being vulnerable and sharing that. Latrice says, give folks their flowers while they can smell them, acknowledge accomplishments to elevate, empower, and encourage folks to persevere. Kim is just giving like seriously hand claps. Kim, you are a jewel. I want to say this to you here publicly. Your encouragement is unmatched, and you're authentic with it. So thank you for that. Lori says, uplifting each other costs you nothing. You're absolutely correct. Deborah says, friends don't talk like that. Girl, you got that right. You sound just like Kevin Days. Like, that ain't your friend. I didn't your spouse or your children know things that you may not see. You may sense it, but my husband and my children called that out yesterday. They said, you do know she really doesn't like you, right? And I was like, oh, y'all, they were like, okay, what was the conversation like? And you just sit back and you're like, really? Thank you, Marian, for always doing that. And Deborah says, Kim says, right, Deborah. All right, y'all, it's been great today. It's been great. Hopefully you got something out of this. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about AI. Woo, there's some stuff unfolding with AI that we need to pay attention to. So other than that, y'all know what I say. Stay well, everyone. And remember, before I say that, if you have the book, go to Amazon.com, look for Inspired Call to Action. It could be a one-line sentence, one sentence, or you can just put one word and do the review. Please, we need that more than you know. We need that. All right, y'all, stay well and remember to make some bold moves. We are out.
Juicy motion.